Guten Tag, meine Damen und Herren, und herzlich willkommen zurück. Das ist die 10. Lektion in unserer Reise durch die deutsche Sprache. In this lesson, we're going to learn an important set of conjunctions that allow us to string together entire sentences. Instead of talking in clipped words and phrases, we'll be able to express ourselves in longer passages, which is exactly what native speakers do. In other words, today we're going to make the linguistic quantum leap from something like this: Ich reise nach Deutschland. Ich besuche Freunde in Frankfurt. Meine Eltern kommen aus Deutschland. Ich spreche kein Deutsch. Ich spreche nur ein bisschen Spanisch. Ich lerne Deutsch. Es macht Spaß. To more fluid and native-like utterances like this: Ich reise nach Deutschland, denn ich besuche Freunde in Frankfurt. Meine Eltern kommen aus Deutschland, aber ich spreche kein Deutsch, sondern nur ein bisschen Spanisch. Aber ich lerne jetzt Deutsch und es macht viel Spaß. That's much better. Also dann, let's get started. Los geht's. Here's that key set of words that we need to familiarize ourselves with. Aber, denn, oder, sondern, und. These are what linguists call coordinating conjunctions. Auf Deutsch, koordinierende Konjunktionen. Puh, that's a mouthful. As for why they're called coordinating conjunctions, well, it's because they coordinately conjoin segments of language. Wie bitte? Yeah, even though it's an example of highfalutin academic jargon, it's actually a spot-on definition of what the words aber, denn, oder, sondern, and und do in German. They unite or conjoin two or more chunks of language, and they do this on equal syntactic levels. That is, coordinately. Now, let me explain in a bit more detail, because this point about being conjoined on equal syntactic levels is absolutely crucial for learning conjunctions in German. Let's say we want to combine the sentence, jeden Tag schaue ich meine Great Courses Videos, with the sentence, im Sommer fahre ich nach Wien. The meaning of each individual sentence, which we can also call clauses, the meaning of each clause plays a major role in determining which conjunctions we can use to combine them into a single utterance that makes sense. For instance, which of the following conjoined utterances do you think makes the most sense? Jeden Tag schaue ich meine Great Courses Videos, aber ich fahre nach Wien. Jeden Tag schaue ich meine Great Courses Videos, denn ich fahre nach Wien. Jeden Tag schaue ich meine Great Courses Videos, oder ich fahre nach Wien. Jeden Tag schaue ich meine Great Courses Videos, sondern ich fahre nach Wien. Or jeden Tag schaue ich meine Great Courses Videos und ich fahre nach Wien. Now, of these 5 utterances, the most logical would be jeden Tag schaue ich meine Great Courses Videos, denn ich fahre nach Wien. And now for an important point. Although the utterance's final meaning does depend on the conjunction we use to combine the two clauses, each clause can still stand on its own. So we could just say, jeden Tag schaue ich meine Great Courses Videos, and we could leave it at that. Similarly, we could just say, ich fahre nach Wien, and we could end right there. These clauses don't necessarily need each other. So in this sense, we say that these clauses are independent. And in fact, this is what we use coordinating conjunctions for: to conjoin independent chunks of language. In this case, two independent clauses which, remember, exist on equal syntactic levels. So let's take another look at our friendly set of coordinating conjunctions: aber, denn, oder, sondern, and, und. Now, keep these words in mind, because here again to show us how native speakers use these conjunctions in conversation are the ever-reliable and ever-friendly Ralf und Mia Gruber. Moment mal, let me amend that last statement just a bit. What we're going to hear is less a conversation than it is eine Debatte. Ralph and Mia, you see, disagree on how they should punish their son, Hans Gruber. Now, for the most part, ihre Kinder sind brav. But as we all know, manchmal sind sie auch böse. And wouldn't you know it, recently, little Hans has been a little böse. So let's listen as Ralph and Mia discuss their son's punishment, that is, seine Strafe.
Was meinst du? 2 Wochen Hausarrest oder 2 Wochen kein Handy?
Naja, er braucht eine Strafe, aber
Aber
2 Wochen Hausarrest ist zu lang, denn Hans ist doch meistens brav.
du hast recht.
Also dann, ich finde, Hausarrest ist eine gute Strafe, aber nicht 2 Wochen lang, sondern nur 1 Woche. Was meinst du?
Einverstanden. Er bekommt 1 Woche Hausarrest.
Did you get all that? Ralph and Mia actually found common ground. Eine Woche Hausarrest. Now that's good parenting. Gut. Und jetzt sind wir dran. Let's connect some clauses using the coordinating conjunctions we've just learned. For instance, let's connect the clause Ralf findet eine Woche Hausarrest gut with the clause 2 Wochen ist zu lang. Which of the 5 conjunctions would be most appropriate here? Aber, denn, oder, sondern, or und? Richtig, we would use denn. And our compound sentence would go like this. Ralf findet eine Woche Hausarrest gut, denn 2 Wochen ist zu lang. Here's our next set of clauses. Meistens ist Hans ein Engelchen, that is, a little angel, which we're going to combine with heute ist er böse. So, how should we connect these clauses? Should we use an aber, und, sondern, denn, or oder? Richtig. The only conjunction that works here is aber. Meistens ist Hans ein Engelchen, aber heute ist er böse. Let's do just one more, shall we? We're going to connect this clause, Hans bekommt nicht einen Monat Hausarrest, Hans doesn't get grounded for a month, with the clause, bekommt nur eine Woche, he only gets a week. Was meinen Sie? Genau, the only conjunction that fits here is sondern. Hans bekommt nicht einen Monat Hausarrest, sondern bekommt nur eine Woche. And since the subject and verb in the first clause, Hans bekommt, carry over into the second clause, we can actually leave out the subject and verb in the second clause. What I mean is, we can also just say, Hans bekommt nicht einen Monat Hausarrest, sondern nur eine Woche. Get it? Now, before we say Auf Wiedersehen to our lovely coordinating conjunctions and we take on our next topic, I'd like to take a couple minutes to tell you about what I call, are you ready? The general word position model for the German sentence. Titillating title, right? Well, you know what? Why don't we just call it the word position model, or WPM for short. Now, in my experiences teaching German, I've found that a solid understanding of the WPM can be a tremendous benefit to learners. And this will become especially clear as we get further along in our journey, and as we learn more and more words that affect the overall word order of a sentence. Also dann, meine Damen und Herren, without further ado, here is what the word position model looks like. Think of every German sentence as having 6 possible spots or positions into which a word can be placed. Position 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. As we've already seen, German grammar can be quite picky about which kinds of words fill these 6 positions, and how this affects the order of the other words in the sentence as well. For example, we've seen that basic subject-verb-object sentences, like Ich spiele Fußball, change their word order if we put an adverb of time at the start of the sentence, like this. Heute spiele ich Fußball. The other words don't just slide down one position, like this. Heute ich spiele Fußball. No. Nein. German grammar does not allow this. Instead, we've learned that German keeps the verb in the second position and moves the subject into the third position. Going further, in this lesson, we've seen that we can also begin a clause with a coordinating conjunction. Thus, we can also have a sentence like, aber heute spiele ich Fußball. Now, because coordinating conjunctions do not cause subject-verb inversion, like the adverbs of time heute, morgen, and so on, and a host of other adverbs that we'll get to know in just a moment, because the words denn, oder, aber, und, sondern, and oder do not make the subject and the verb switch positions, we say that coordinating conjunctions occupy the zero position. Aber heute spiele ich Fußball. As for the host of other adverbs I just mentioned, well, these are transition words like deshalb, dennoch, trotzdem, außerdem, and darum. Just like the many adverbs of time we've learned, these transition adverbs occupy position 1 in the WPM, shifting the subject into position 3. Außerdem spiele ich Fußball. Alles klar? Be sure to check out our course workbook for more exercises with word order, coordinating conjunctions, and the transition adverbs we just went over. Also dann, to sum up, we can now use the word position model to illustrate the many kinds of German utterances that we can produce and understand already at this juncture in our journey. 1. Subject-verb-object. Ich spiele Fußball. 2. Subject-verb-complement. Ich fliege nach Frankfurt. 3. Conjunction, subject, verb, object. Aber ich spiele Fußball. 4. Conjunction, subject, verb, complement. Aber ich fliege nach Frankfurt. 5. Adverb, verb, subject, object. Morgen spiele ich Fußball. 6. Adverb, verb, subject, complement. Morgen fliege ich nach Frankfurt. 7. Conjunction, verb, subject, object. Aber morgen spiele ich Fußball. And finally, 8. Conjunction, adverb, verb, subject, and complement. Aber morgen fliege ich nach Frankfurt. Puh, das sind viele. I mean, did you realize that you can already do all this and more in German? Das ist wunderbar. Wir machen gute Fortschritte. Also dann, meine Damen und Herren, we're more than halfway through our lesson, whose title, if you recall, includes coordinating conjunctions and der Wörter. Now, if I haven't mentioned it yet, let me do so now. Ich bin Gedankenleser. Jawohl, ich bin Gedankenleser. And right now, you're thinking, what the heck are der words? Am I right? Well then, allow me to enlighten you. Der words are a lot like the definite and indefinite articles we've learned. They always occur before a noun, and they modify that noun's contextual meaning. Take the noun that I used just a few moments ago to describe myself. Gedankenleser. We've already learned that we can modify a noun with a definite article. For example, der Gedankenleser refers to a mind reader who's physically present or who we previously mentioned. Or we could use an indefinite article. For instance, if we say ein Gedankenleser, we're talking about a mind reader who's not physically present or who hasn't been previously mentioned. And in the same way, we can also use a der word to modify a noun, but in terms of thisness, thatness, eachness, suchness, and whichness. And the der words that let us do this are these: all, dies, jed, manch, solch, and welch. Notice that these der words all have a dash. Well, this indicates that each of them takes an ending that reflects the gender, number, and case of the noun they're modifying. Welcome to German! Nun, meine Damen und Herren, to help you understand how der words work in German, I'd like for you to imagine... Ach so, ich hab's. Imagine that you've been invited to a fancy party in Berlin. And imagine that you're standing by the food table, the best place, and you're deciding which Käse and Kaviar you'd like to try next. when you overhear a man tell a group of other party attendees, Ich bin Gedankenleser von Beruf. Which of course makes you instantly curious, right? I mean, how many professional Gedankenleser can there be? And so you gently tap the person standing next to you on the shoulder and you ask, Entschuldigung, wer ist dieser Gedankenleser? The word dies here indicates that the Gedankenleser you're asking about is close by or has already been mentioned in conversation. But it's here where you run into a problem. You see, this is a big party with a big crowd of party attendees, and so it's not immediately clear who you're asking about. So the person next to us at that food table, they ask us, Welchen Gedankenleser meinen Sie? This word welch, it now makes the noun the focus of the question. And so you tactfully point to the man you overheard, and you say, Ich meine diesen Mann da. Again, the dies before the noun tells your conversation partner that you're referring to a particular Gedankenleser that both you and the person are already aware of. What's more, because you've added the word da, you're specifying that the person you're asking about is within medium range, dieser Mann da, as opposed to dieser Mann hier. Conversationally, Germans often add a hier or a da to distinguish between close and medium distances. So, after you clarify that you're asking about diesen Mann da, the person looks at you confused and says, Jeder Mann auf dieser Party ist Gedankenleser. The jed here gives the noun the sense of everyness or eachness. In other words, this person's telling us that every man at the party is a mind reader. To which, of course, your natural reaction is to say, Wie bitte? Surely you've misheard the man, right? I mean, it's odd enough to have one Gedankenleser at a party, let alone a party where jeder Mann ist Gedankenleser. But apparently not at this particular party in Berlin, because our friend at the food table then tells us, Solche Partys haben viele Gedankenleser. Such parties, you think? Still somewhat confused. I mean, what does this person mean by solche Partys? So you just shake your head and you have to admit, Es tut mir leid, aber ich verstehe nicht. Which then prompts your food table conversation partner to explain. No, das ist eine Gedankenleserparty. Alle Leute hier sind Gedankenleser von Beruf. Okay, I admit that this is a rather unique conversation. But I mean, who knows, maybe someday you will find yourself at a Gedankenleserparty in Berlin. Either way, this unique conversation contains several easy-to-follow examples of how der words work in German. Let's listen one more time to the whole thing without interruption. Entschuldigung, wer ist dieser Gedankenleser? Welchen Gedankenleser meinen Sie? Ich meine diesen Mann da. Na ja, jeder Mann auf dieser Party ist Gedankenleser. Wie bitte? Solche Partys haben viele Gedankenleser. Es tut mir leid, aber ich verstehe nicht. Naja, das ist eine Gedankenleserparty. Alle Leute hier sind Gedankenleser von Beruf. Alles klar? One thing in particular that I'd like to point out in this dialogue is the der word all. Most of the time, all occurs only with plural nouns, as in alle Kinder or alle Tiere. So just keep this in mind. Alle Leute sind brav. Alle Österreicher sprechen Deutsch. Alle meine Professoren sind freundlich. And so on. Gut. Und jetzt, meine Damen und Herren, let's take leave from our swanky party of Gedankenleser in Berlin and let's turn our attention to something just as riveting. The endings that the German language puts on words like all, dies, jed, manch, solch, and welch. And remember that these endings are very important because just like the various definite and indefinite articles, these endings tell us the gender, the number, and the case of the noun they're modifying. And guess what? We can use yet another handy-dandy table to show these der word endings. Starting with the nominative case. For masculine nouns, der words take an er, dieser Hund. For feminine nouns, it's an e, diese Katze. For neuter nouns, it's an es, dieses Haus. And for all plural nouns, der words get an e, diese Leute. Moving on to the accusative case, For masculine nouns, the ending is an en, diesen Hund. And for feminine, neuter, and plural nouns, the der word endings are the same as nominative case. E, es, and e. Oh, and by the way, these der word endings, if they seem familiar to you, well, it's because actually we've already learned another set of words whose endings are virtually the same. I'm talking here about definite articles. Take a look. This is our table for the definite articles. And this, again, is our table for the der word endings. Compare the tables closely, and you'll notice that the endings for the der words are essentially the same as the definite articles. In other words, these der word endings are not that new to us at all. We actually learned them when we learned the definite articles. Well, we just didn't know it at the time. Aber jetzt wissen wir Bescheid. Also dann, let's put these endings to work, shall we? The name of this game is going to be Was ist dieser Mensch von Beruf? We're going to start off by hearing a couple sentences describing a person's profession. For example, you'll hear something like this. Dies Frau versteht all Computerprobleme. Sie findet jed Computer interessant, denn sie schreibt gern manch neue Programme. As you can see, the der words desperately need an ending. So the first thing we need to do is fill these in. Diese Frau versteht alle Computerprobleme. Sie findet jeden Computer interessant, denn sie schreibt gern manche neue Programme. The first der word, dies, takes an e, diese, because Frau is a female noun and it's the subject that's doing something. In other words, it's nominative. As for what she's doing, the verb is versteht. Sie versteht. She understands something. And the what that diese Frau understands is the direct object of the sentence, which is the plural noun Computerprobleme. And remember that our plural accusative ending for der words is an e. Alle Computerprobleme. In the second sentence, the der word jed takes an en because Computer is masculine and the direct object, den Computer. Here, the subject is sie, referring to die Frau, of course, and this subject is finding something interesting. Sie findet etwas interessant. Now, remember that we can ask our what question to determine the direct object. What does the subject find interesting? Well, the subject, sie, findet, every computer, jeden Computer, interesting, interessant. Sie findet jeden Computer interessant. Going further, in the second part of this compound sentence, we learn that the reason she finds every computer interessant is because sie schreibt gern manche neue Programme. That is, she likes to write many new computer programs. Manch takes an e ending because Programme is a plural noun in the accusative case. What does our feminine nominative subject sie like to write? Programme. Gut. And now that we've filled in the der word endings, 3 images are going to appear, one of which is the correct image of the person or persons we just described. Now, it's our job to decide, was ist diese Frau von Beruf? Was meinen Sie? Did our short passage describe die Advokaten, die Informatikerin, or die Bankangestellte? Richtig, diese Frau ist Informatikerin von Beruf. And that's how this game will go. Also dann, meine Damen und Herren, here is round 2 of Was ist dieser Mensch von Beruf? Carefully read this sentence and take a moment to fill in the endings. Go ahead and pause the tape if you want to. I'll wait. Sehr gut. Dieser Mann ist meistens fair. Er analysiert jedes Argument. Manche Advokaten finden ihn unfreundlich. In the first sentence, the subject is Mann, which is masculine nominative, dieser Mann. In the second sentence, Argument is neuter accusative because the subject analyzes it, jedes Argument. And in the third sentence, Advokaten is plural nominative because they, the attorneys, are the subjects finding him, the masculine accusative judge, unfriendly. Manche Advokaten finden ihn unfreundlich. Gut. Now here are 3 possible images. Was meinen Sie? Was ist dieser Mann von Beruf? Ist er Richter, Verkäufer oder Arzt? Sehr gut. Dieser Mann ist Richter von Beruf. Okay, one last round. Are you ready? Here is our final passage. Take a moment to figure out which ending fits and why. Jawohl, the passage should go like this. Oft arbeiten solche Menschen in einer Hauptstadt. Manche Leute finden diese Personen unehrlich. Here, all of the nouns that the der words are modifying are plural. Menschen, Leute, and Personen. In the first sentence, Menschen is nominative. Solche Menschen. In the second sentence, Leute is nominative. Manche Leute. As for the noun phrase diese Personen, because we're saying that many people, manche Leute, find these persons, diese Personen, dishonest, this plural noun phrase is accusative. So then, was meinen Sie? Was sind diese Menschen von Beruf? Sind sie Krankenpfleger, Krankenpflegerinnen, Briefträger oder Briefträgerinnen oder Beamte und Beamtinnen? Stimmt, Beamte und Beamtinnen. Also dann, liebe Zuschauer und Zuschauerinnen, this will have to do it for die 10. Lektion. Looking ahead to our next lesson, I'd like to leave you with a little riddle about German Bierdeckel, that is, beer coasters. That's right, I said Bierdeckel. And your riddle is this. Apart from being something to set your drink on, how many other purposes can there be for a German Bierdeckel? Was meinen Sie? 2? 5? 10? 100? Naja, I suggest you tune in to our next lesson to find out. Auf Wiedersehen und bis gleich.